Thank you, Coach Saulter, for joining me today. Coach Saulter is the head football coach at Bedford High School here in Ohio. Coach, if you wouldn't mind taking a second to kind of give them the background so people can kind of get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, first of all, thanks for inviting me on. I watch a lot of your stations and a lot of your clinics that you put on, and I've learned a lot of great things from you, and from a lot of the great coaches that you guys have had on. So a little bit about me. I'm from Canton, Ohio. I'm originally born and raised. I played down at Canton Central Catholic High School for those Ohioans for Coach Kleinfelter, who was a kind of a coaching legend, who's got still the most wins in Stark County to this day. Excuse me. From then on, I played at Muskingum College. And then I transferred and played at the University of Dayton. And while I was in school, I was trying to decide, like everything else, I thought I was going to be a psychologist. I took one psych class, and I said, this is not for me. So I decided, what are the things that I'm good at, and what do I, want to continue to do with the rest of my life? And I decided that I wanted to get into coaching and still stay around the game after I got done playing. And I've always liked history, so I went to education and became a social studies teacher and a football coach. I started off coaching in a really rural town called Doylestown at Chippewa High School. And at Chippewa, I coached the receivers and the DBs for 2 years, and we won a whopping one game in 2 years. But after that, I decided to go down back to where I was from in Canton, Ohio, and I coached at Glen Oak High School for 2 years under Scott Garcia. Coached the running backs down there. We had a lot of success, a lot of great talent down there. I knew that I wanted to take certain steps to become a head coach. And so in 2015, I came back to the Cleveland area and coached at Brush High School for Coach Fink, who had been the mentor offensive coordinator for many years. So I learned a lot of great things from him and offensive strategy and how good mentor is. From then, I went to Revere High School, coached 2 seasons there. Under Coach Murphy, and had a fantastic run as OC there. And then I took my last big step from the high school ranks and went to college for a season. And I coached receivers at Case Western University with Coach Debs there, and learned a lot of great things from there and the coaches over at Case. And finally, I got my break and became the head football coach at Bedford last April, in April of 2019, and been trying to figure it out ever since.
Awesome, Coach. You just mentioned you just finished your first season as the head coach. What were kind of the lessons you learned during this your first season?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is that you don't have it figured out. You definitely don't have it all figured out. I thought going into this, I said, listen, I've got a plan. I've got what I want to do. But it certainly wasn't as detailed as I thought it would be. And so I figured out that especially going into year 2, you better not only have a plan, but it's the really little intricate details that you better have in your plan and have it laid out. And not only that, I came into the season thinking that I only had to coach the players, when really you got to spend a lot of time with your assistants as well. And I've got a great staff. There's no doubt about it. I've got everybody back from last season, so I did at least something right throughout the year. But I think the biggest thing is, too, you've got to spend a lot of time, not only, I don't want to say coaching, but really laying out to your assistants what your expectations are and how you want them to go about business. And I say that simply because of whatever you don't address now, you will have to address later. There's no doubt about that. And so going into year 2, I've spent a lot of time, thinking about how can I really lay the foundation for my assistants about the expectations that I have for not only myself for the program, not only for players, but for them as well. And so the main thing that I've said is really just handing them out, even coaching's manuals, something that I've started to work on in the off season. And it addresses everything, as far as being punctual, dress code, what to say and what we can't say, staff roles, who's locking up this day and who needs to arrive early this day, because I'm not in the building. I teach in a different school district. So, my staff has become even more important in the off season, in year 1 than going into year 2.
Okay, Coach, and then kind of going back, and kind of building off of those responses. What, if you could go back, what are the number 1 or 2 things you wish you would have known before you became a head coach?
Like I said, I think to kind of piggyback off of, I think to be a little bit more detailed. I really think that anybody who wants to become a head coach or is already gotten a job and you're going to become a head coach, you need to sit down and talk to somebody. And you need to sit down and talk to somebody who's done it before. I know in the offseason, I sat down with Coach Elder over at Avon. And I also sat down with Coach McDaniels, who was a longtime McKinley head coach and won that national title with them in '97. And just the knowledge you can gain from those guys is just incredible because they've been there, done that. They've been through every scenario that I've not even gotten to yet. So I'd say that, I really wish I would have sat down with someone before I even started this thing, just to kind of figure out the do's and the don'ts of how to do it. And then also, too, just the details. Just the details. Having a plan and really sticking to it. I've got a coach's manual. We've all got a coach's manual. But how well did you read over that? How well do you know that? And being able to hand that out. And really, honestly, too, not only I've talked about, not only coaching your staff and working with your staff, but having a plan for parents and your players as well. And I think that if I had it all over again, I would have had a parent meeting probably within the first 3 weeks of getting the job, and handed them out something concrete to say, hey, listen, this is the program expectations. This is how we do things here, so that they understand exactly what their child's getting into, and then also their place as well. Because we know, as high school coaches, parents have a very unique role in a lot of things that we do, and they're very opinionated of how you run your program and that sort of thing. So I think having something to look back at to make sure that they understand where you're heading with your program would be essential as well. So those are just a couple things I think I wish I would have known. And I guess also too is how much more it is beyond the game of football as the head coach. I knew going into it that it was not just about drawing up X's and O's like when I was an offensive coordinator, which I understood that, but how much more you really have to deal with disciplinary actions and the community, the parental aspect, just, selling your program, everything. How much more you have to deal with that is a lot. And that's why I really say sit down with somebody and talk to someone so you can kind of gain some more knowledge on how to deal with those things.
Well, Coach, what are the biggest adjustments you're making after year one? Obviously, there's COVID, and that's causing all of us to make adjustments. But outside the COVID, in terms of the health and safety and other things related to that, what program adjustments or scheme adjustments are you having to make after you doing a full year with your program?
Sure. So I'll start with scheme. We're a base 4-3 defense, and that's been great for us. We're going to stick with we'll stick with that. We'll make some tweaks here and there. But I've got a great defensive coordinator and coach, Jamon Rift, and he's done a great job for us. Offensively, we're a spread team. We're mainly 10 and 11 personnel. We're a mid-zone team, and that's our bread and butter. But we're going to make a few tweaks there. We're going to go a little bit more 2 tight end sets. We're actually going to go, we were 97% in the gun last year. So this year, I think we're going to go under a little bit more. And I think that helps with play action and just being a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage. As far as, the adjustments that I'm making now is I've spent a lot of time focusing on the leadership aspect of things. It's always great to sit around, and I watch a lot of your clinics and things like that, and I watch a lot of the schematics and things such as that. But I've spent a lot of time reading and talking with people on how to be a better leader. I read, a lot of these books and a lot of these things have already been out, but I finally read Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line, and what a fantastic book that was on just how can you be a better leader and really enforcing your culture and your team. Everybody wants to talk about culture. That's the hot word. Everybody said, this is our culture, but you really got to break that down, not only to what it means to you, what it means to your staff, but then what it means to your kids. Everybody's got these fancy sayings, and that's great, but what does it really mean? And what does it mean to actually live that life and actually produce what culture you're trying to enforce? And so I've spent a lot of time doing that. When I got the job last year, I talked about a lot about culture and that sort of thing, but I don't know if I really understood what I was trying to get the team to do and assistants to do. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. Another podcast that I've been listening to is not only with Urban Meyer, but with a guy named Tim Kite on the Focus 3 podcast. It's been really good as well. And really just focusing on how can I become a better leader more than anything else. X's and O's, I think, will take care of themselves. I got guys that we can depend on for that and talk to. I get on the board with anybody, but I think the best head coaches have got the leadership qualities to be successful.
Okay, Coach, and kind of next question. I kind of briefly mentioned COVID, but how have you and your staff adapted during this period? Obviously, we all kind of got stuck a couple months without our kids, but how have you been able to reach out to them during this period? How have you been able to start teaching them? What adjustments have you made? Has it been a lot of Zoom calls, Google Classroom? What have you guys been doing to kind of help stay in contact with your players during this time and teach them?
Sure. First of all, I've had to get a lot better at technology than I ever thought I would. Actually, there's no doubt about that. I'm a teacher, so I can do the things that we've got Google Classroom calls, smart boards, and all that great stuff. But I've had to really lean on technology, and so we've used Zoom. We've used the Zoom format, and so that's been a way that we can get on, and I can get on the huddle and get into our playbook and that sort of thing. We can still watch film and talk to the kids via Zoom. It creates a problem though in some cases because not everybody has access. You really think that everybody has access to computers and internet and all that great stuff, but not everybody does. And especially during the quarantine type of situation where you weren't really supposed to leave the house and be over a lot of people's houses, some kids were not able to get on, and that was unfortunate. So we had to come up with different ways. Another way that we were able to communicate with them is social media, because every kid has social media in some form. So we use Twitter even, and especially for the workouts. And I post a video maybe of me working out and say, hey, listen, let's do this workout together. Or I put a challenge out there and I say, hey, post a video to my wall or tweet me it or whatever we want to call it of you working out so that I can see what you guys are doing, what you guys are working at. We use Remind as a platform to reach the kids and the parents. So I just simply put the workout in there or attach a workout to that, something along those lines. That way they understand what their expectations are. And I'll be honest with you, it got tough because not being able to see the kids and, they're 16, 17 year old kids and, they don't want to rely on technology all the time. And, during the COVID type of situation, you're not there to push them. So it gets a little bit challenging. But I thought coming back, I thought that the kids did a fairly decent job. They were in decent shape. And that's mainly what we used in order to reach the kids and coach the kids.
Okay, Coach. And the kind of last thing, and you've already mentioned a little bit of it, but is there anything else that you were looking at this offseason in terms of professional development, in terms of how to improve your program? Obviously, you mentioned all the leadership development and the clinics.
Sure.
Is there anything else you kind of worked on outside that? I know you mentioned Focus 3 and the kites for a moment. Just kind of curiosity.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is just face-to-face is big. And so, like I said, I sat down with those two coaches. I think, especially during the quarantine period, there were a lot of free clinics that were online. And clinics where a lot of fantastic college coaches and things and high school coaches were talking that probably wouldn't be talking for free. But because nobody else had anything better to do during that time, they put out a lot of those clinics. So I looked at a lot of those, and just we were looking at maybe just for an example, putting in a mesh this year. I've never been a big mesh guy, so I contacted Case Western and we talked to him, and I looked at all the clinics I could on mesh to see if we wanted to do it or not. So just certain concepts that I felt that they were going to take a lot of time. I really researched those. I'll be honest, even your clinics that you've got on, you've interviewed some fantastic people. Just for instance, not too long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, I watched I want to say it was the West Virginia offensive coordinator, and he did a topic on mid-zone. I want to say it was West Virginia State. It could be.
Yeah, pretty sure West Virginia State. It was on mid zone and inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did. It was fantastic, and they block it just a little bit differently than we do. We always read the backside and they would lock onto him, but he still gave me some great ideas and some things that we're going to use this year. That just logging on and just watching your channels, just watching your stations of who you're interviewing and that sort of thing. You learn a lot. I believe that if you click on any coach talking, you can almost learn something of what they're doing, whoever it is. And whether that's learning what to do or whether that's learning what not to do, you can always take in something. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on, and just those leadership type of situations as well. And I would just say study what you want to be good at. That's the main thing. Whatever it is that you want to be good at, whether it's leadership, whether it's how to enforce your culture, whether it's if you're going to midline or you're going to pro set or spread, whatever it is, study whatever it is you want to be good at. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on.
Well, Coach, thanks for taking some time to talk to me today. I wish you and your family nothing but safety and health, and I kind of wish you guys luck this season. And I will talk to you here soon, my friend.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
No problem, Coach.